Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
Yes, it does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful downtown
Van Nuys.
That's right. Before we jump in, Ed, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, I want to thank the Patreon supporters out there. Patreon.com/funniest thing. Patreon is patreon.com/funniest thing. Thank you all, because Darrell and I had this realization that at the very least, you know, we come to do this show. Sometimes the mind might grumble and mumble and stumble about why are you doing this? We said at the very least, we're doing it for the people who are Patreoning, contributing to the show. Like, you guys are paying for us to be here for the studio, and so we could not be happier.
Yes.
And no, we do mean that sincerely. It's like we're all part of this team, and it just gives us one more thing to inspire us to keep doing this. So thank you so much. And if you want to jump on, you could donate as little as $5, or actually as little of small or large amount.
As you want.
As you want. You can type it in. We also have some preset like $5, $25, $100. And we appreciate everyone, even if you are listening, sharing it, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yeah, even $1 or $2 a month makes a big difference in us covering all the expenses to continue to do our show.
Right. So if you go to the YouTube Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, share them. Find us on any Spotify or Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us. I know it's a bit to go out of the way because we don't always do it, but if you review it, rate it, that type of thing, leave a comment, that's really helpful because it helps the show get out to more people.
Yeah, more people will find it.
That's right.
Or
we're going to help. Yeah.
I was going to say, or as in the words of Victoria Osteen, if you enjoy this show, be a blessing and share it with one of your friends.
That's right.
Why don't you be a blessing? Share it with one of your friends.
And also, we really believe in, instead of spending money or donating money, we changed it in our minds to we're always circulating money.
Yeah, you know who helped us do that?
Yeah, Reverend Ike.
Reverend Ike said never use the word spend when it comes to money.
You're circulating it, and it's blessing those people, and it's blessing people who those people share it with in the form of bills or tithes or buying themselves things, and then it comes all the way back to you, multiplied with even more blessing power.
Right, and when we first hear that, we practice it almost like an interesting concept or something fun, until we realize that that's actually how things work, and then it just becomes more and more fun and more enjoyable, and then we feel more and more secure within ourselves, generous, kind. I know I can say that for Darrell and I and Indy back there, and I'm sure our guest Nancy Norman agrees. I already saw some head nods in the green room. All right, the good news is today's show is going to help us do something we all benefit from.
That's right.
Darrell and I just did this before the show. What's the name of this show? What are we going to do?
Today we're going to kick fear off the throne, folks.
That's right. Today's show is called Kick Fear Off the Throne with Reverend Nancy Norman, great unity minister, great truth teacher. We actually had Kathy Norman, who is the daughter of Nancy Norman, on the show, and it just keeps getting better and better because today Nancy's going to share some great inspired truth with us. Even in the moments before we started the show, the little tidbits we shared that Nancy shared with us got us flying high as kites.
Yes.
So there's nothing to fear because faith is greater than fear. We must learn to stop focusing on the negative and direct our faith toward the good we desire. On this episode, Darrell and Ed remind listeners to replace old worldly limitation with heavenly perfection and prepare to receive good fortune and bountiful abundance. And during the second segment, miracle worker Nancy Norman kicks fear off the throne with today's daily word, which is free.
Free.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because when our mind starts to groan, we got to kick fear off the throne, man.
Yes, and that groaning comes in interesting ways. Just the day before yesterday, yesterday we're recording this on a Saturday, so on Thursday, I was paying bills, and I enjoy paying bills. I've gotten to the point where I actually enjoy paying bills, and I've been this way shortly after
Yes.
1986 when I got introduced to these teachings.
Right.
For some reason, I don't know how, but the belief in these principles and the and of course the law of circulation made me feel so good, not just the feeling of being responsible, and I never felt like it was a drain. And even in times of my life where the bank account was getting very low, the act of paying my bills because of these teachings actually made me feel enthusiastic that, ooh, I'm creating a vacuum.
Right.
And this may seem insane to newcomers, but I'm telling you, I have never been without. And
100%.
I have never been without. And in case you don't know, by the time I came into this truth, I didn't have, parents or anything to rely on at that time. Because me and my brother were we were orphaned when I was 18. So I had to buy into this stuff 100%. And I think that's a great place to be when you have to, even there was a talk, where St. Paul says, when I finally give up, like he can't of his mortal self, then he's closest to God. He means when he can't, like he's in over his head and has to buy into this fully, because it almost seems impossible that I could do anything on my own. Then the magic happens. But that doesn't make me perfect, because Thursday, 2 days ago, I'm doing my bills, and my wife, I'm noticing as I'm going through the bills, she racked up a considerable amount on the Amazon card to the tune of $2,000 last month. And I'm like going, okay. And I started to feel myself turn into, all these thoughts have personalities. I want people to be aware of that. Ed and I talked about this before. When we have a thought, it's not just a thought, it carries a personality.
Man, Ike is with us today because that's where we got that one
Yeah,
man.
Reverend Ike, who is a big, he really loved Emmett Fox and Neville Goddard.
And also he would slide into Butterworth's talks in New York before he did his own.
Yes, he did. And we got that
as well.
Yeah, we got that from someone who was there when he used to do it. Strickland.
John Strickland.
So these thoughts have personality. So I feel my personality transform into, like the husband from the 1950s who's concerned about the wife's spending habits. I started to feel myself turn into that. And I even started to text her. But it's funny because there was these two people in me. The one is like me in, high-waisted slacks and a shirt and tie with the hair going back, going,
a concerned Ward Cleaver type.
Yes, please be mindful. You're really,
Yes.
Consider our, and all that feels bad because it's not me. It's not the divine me. And it's really not the way I believe. But there was the other me. The other me is trying to go, what the hell you listen to that guy for?
Right.
This is garbage. We're all... Right. So as I'm starting to text her and I'm going, you're at 2,000. That's like the full paycheck for 2 weeks on this. And then I start turning it around and I go, no, we're rich. We're blessed. You never know. We always end up things working out.
Right.
Well, yesterday... Now, this really kicks me right where I need to be kicked. It hit me in the kisser.
Oh, yeah.
Because yesterday, guess who received, it was 2,000.
Yeah.
That I needed, that's being carried on the card that I want to get rid of. I paid.
You want to circulate.
Yeah, because I chiseled it down by throwing 1,600 in there, and now there's 2,000 left. To give you the idea of why this, the personality of that guy came up.
Yeah, sure.
But so now it's down to manageable 2,000 in my mind. God will handle. But here's the kicker: the next day, which was yesterday, guess who gets a check for $2,350? Not me. No, Lori, my wife. And I'm like going, see, Darrell. This is none of your business.
Wow.
She has her own higher power.
Wow.
This is none of your business.
Wow.
And Mike Dugan, my mentor, taught me years ago. I often joke that I married a teenage bride. not because Lori's much younger than me, because she isn't that much younger than me,
Right.
but because she is the antithesis of the way I live.
Right.
And she's like a mess maker. Like, she's great. She has all these great things, but she has the mess making, the wake up late. Meanwhile, she lives an incredible life.
Yeah, because it works for her.
It works for her. So at one point, I was talking early in our relationship, I was talking to my mentor, Mike, going, yeah, I can't even, her car, it's like a purse on wheels. What is it? It's a disaster. Every time I go in there, I got to put things together.
Right.
And he goes, what are you doing in her car? And I go, well, it's both of our cars. And he goes, don't you have your car? Yes. He goes, but what if we go out and use her car? He goes, Darrell, you have no business going in her car. That's her car.
What a great
you stay out of
mentor.
car.
Mike
If you want to go somewhere with
Amazing.
Lori, you take her out on a date in your car, like you would any girl.
Right.
And you know what? Her car doesn't bother me anymore. This is like 15 years after. Her car has not changed, folks.
Wow.
You know, it's still the way. But not only that, because I've changed so much, I'm not aware of her car being the purse on wheels and seeming like a disaster and it's losing value or whatever the insanity was at that time. I was thinking I'm just grabbing at straws here.
Right.
But now I notice all the good about her car. Like the other day, I was like, wow, Lori got her car washed. Like, it's crazy. I like this guy much better than the one who comes up when fear jumps in the throne. And I brought this story up just to let you know that these little fears pepper us throughout our day. We're not talking about a giant fear, like we're worried, about something, seemingly, giant, some giant circumstance. We're talking about when fear hops in the throne, disguises itself as being reasonable or prudent.
Right.
Like we often say, what do we say? Fear is just, no, what is it?
Fear is, no, seriousness.
Seriousness. Because I started turning to that serious 1950s husband.
Yes.
Seriousness is just fear pretending to act like a grown-up.
Yes, that's right. I see it all the time in education, and especially because it's very aware. You're very aware because there's actual children there, and then there's the adult, who's like a little kid acting like they're a grown-up, but you could tell they're like just their little kid is just triggering. They're like, "Don't do that. You know you're not." And it's like, dude, who's in third grade here? Like the teacher or the kid? It's funny. It's perfect because when my trigger this morning was, all of a sudden my son is getting ready to go to school. Berkeley, Cal Berkeley, his second year. He's about to start. We're going to drive him up there tomorrow. And I start getting these texts from my mother about, I think he'd do better in a small school. Like out of nowhere.
No, wait, are you sure he likes it there? That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Do you think he likes it? And I was like, uh-oh, what's coming next? And I started, all of a sudden this stream of text starts coming in. We want him to be happy and successful. And so under inspired circumstances, if fear wasn't on the throne, it would be great. So do we, and he is happy and successful. Yes. Everything's great. But it wasn't that. It was like, it just kept building. He needs guidance. And again, if I'm inspired, good. He has guidance. He's doing great. He has his own guidance, and we help guide him if he needs it. But it keeps building.
Well, these are we Ed and I refer to texts like that we either receive or decide to give out as lobbing a warm paper bag of fresh dog poo over into your friend's yard, over the fence and into, because they're like, they don't seem that harmless, but it was one little bag after another with each text.
Whoop. And then the thrower, which could be me, starts going, "Why are you upset? Why are you getting upset?" So they keep coming, and then so finally, I called because I was thinking, let's just call, because first of all, text is such a, unless it's just like clean information, it's nothing emotionally can be unless it's joy.
Yeah.
The text just magnifies whatever it is. So I call, and I found I think what the fear that got triggered inside of me was like, I'm their son again, this teenage son, and they're telling me I'm reliving that. So I'm starting to get upset instead of just going, oh, my parents have these fears on the throne, and which is part of me was seeing that, but part of me is like, hey, how dare they? La, 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 la. And I knew I had to give up the fight. I told you that.
Yes,
I asked God inside, what do I need to do? And God was just like, let it go.
Yeah.
And was showing me all the ways that, there's some common ground. They're just like expressing that fear. They're coming from that. And part of me is like, well, I know I get those fears too. So, but when I call them, first I started to get kind of triggered, in my voice, and my mom's like, why are you raising your voice? I'm like, part of me's going, dude, I was driving here getting excited about like going to school, and all of a sudden but it turns out like their interpretation of some of the choices my son's made are like, my son is taking like a data science major, which is amazing, and I've talked to many people in the job markets who say that's incredible, it's a great school, it's a great program, but in their mind it's not engineering, which is where he started. So my dad interpreted my son's major as bookkeeping, and why are they going to Berkeley to become a bookkeeper? And I'm like, I started just laughing, like, bookkeeping? Come on, how did you come to that? And but it turned out that the fear, they've been for like 2 weeks chewing on this fear and building plans and ideas around it. Fear got on the throne but this is such a good lesson for life. There's only wonderful things are happening, but the fear gets in there.
It tells a whole different story.
It tells the exact opposite of what's really going on. So they're like, so we start, like I said one time, that phrase that came to me a long time ago, which is we start doing critical thinking about less than critical issues. There's nothing to actually be critical about. Actually, there's a lot to be praised, and I can relate to this because that thing came up with my work about needing to get that certification. And no one else right now is freaked out, but inside my fears are coming up, and even though I just had the best first week of school, I was problem solving, I was joyful, ministering. God within me told me, you're the minister for this school this year. If you do that, you will be successful.
Yes.
But still, this voice inside me, fear, because it really is like, I was thinking, it's almost like, it's either like putting some kind of filter over the camera, or the lens, so that everything you see is now a nightmare. It's almost, have you seen this on Instagram or something where they put the crying filter on? So the person's really going, I'm happy, I love this food, but it looks like they're crying about the food. That's what fear does for us.
Yes.
We're in heaven, but it's showing us hell as if we're in hell.
Yeah.
Right? And all the while, but this is the beauty of it. The real solution is to get back into joy, to dummy down. We talk about this with our affirmations. Darrell's talked about it for years, and Florence Scovel-Shinn talks about it, Catherine Paul. Make these affirmations joyous and fun to override that part of our rational mind.
Silly ideas.
Yes.
Make them silly because it slips past the critical, fearful mind, and it'll drop right into the subconscious where it needs to wake things up again to what's real.
Because when we get into a state of joy, our chemicals in our brain start to circulate properly.
Yes.
The parts of our brain, when we're upset, someone showed me this thing where they open up their hands, like when we get really upset, all the parts of our brain, if you just open up your palm and look at it, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. This is what our brain does, and this is why it is very hard to do anything when we're in fear and upset, because all the parts of our brain go like this. They bloom like a flower. They're no longer communicating with each other. But when we get back into a state of joy, or even just calm, satisfaction, contentment, our brain comes back together.
Yeah.
And if you put the thumb in the middle of his fingers, it's like that brain stem.
Yeah, it looks like a brain.
Yeah, it looks like a brain. And now everything starts to communicate with each other. So little simple things. That's why laughter yoga is so wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's really, we have to disconnect from as much as it seems like it's out there, and I'm learning so much about this right now, it's really what we're feeling is not what's happening. It's the story that our mind is telling us about what's happening. Because this certification I need is not that hard to get. But the belief that this means I'm not good enough at my job, even though I've been doing it for 25 years and I'm the best at it, it's telling me this means you're not good enough until you get that. That is deadly to the spirit, right? Because that's what feels so bad. It's not a small thing to say about myself, but it's like, it's saying that in the back, and it's releasing and I wonder why it feels so bad. And then in the past, I would think, this means I'm screwed. I can't, I'm over, over my head. I can't do anything. But all it really means is that story about what's going on, that's what feels so bad.
Yes. We got to remember, it's the hardest thing to remember when we're in it, that the things we think about that make us feel bad, they feel bad because they're incongruent with what's real.
Yes.
They're incongruent with what's true.
Yes.
But the tendency for most of us, and this is the great news about all these teachings is
Yes.
they give us an alternative that's grounded in a lot of historical, data that proves
Yes.
even science is catching up
Right.
to these spiritual ideas, and we know the medical industry as well that the reason it feels bad and causes dis-ease in our feelings and disease in our body is because it's an indication that our thoughts are moving out of reality, not into reality, but going in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
and they're not
that's right.
congruent with the harmonizing
Right.
positive stream of life.
That's
but
right.
the thing to remember is when the mind opens up, like Ed was saying, and we're panicked, my old bad go-to habit, and it's called magical thinking in psychology, which means if I'm not worrying about the problem, then I'm not trying to solve it.
Right.
And the brain will stay, it won't communicate, and it gets worse, and the fear gets worse. And
yes.
so the idea seems so unreasonable to switch to joy. How could that be the solution? And it's the solution.
It's so crazy.
It is the solution.
It drops us into this ocean of love,
Yes.
which allows the mind to see clearly. It comes out of insanity, because that really is. And it's crazy because a lot of I see the administrative on up end of education it's just complete insanity. It's based on fearful projections and trying to defend against stuff. And it's like, but wait, things are good right here.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, and so we need to have our attention right here and tap into that joy and live from that joy. Should we do our breaths?
Oh, this is perfect time.
This is something to remind ourselves what to do when fear feels like it's on the throne.
Marching around, telling us what to do. Do this, do that.
It's time, really, what we need to do.
You're not good enough. What's the use?
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
Right,
What's
but we
the
need to
use?
reclaim our power, our joy. Kick fear off the throne. And it's not a violent overthrow. It's a joyful release. And we do this by dancing with glee is one way to do it.
Well, okay, this was from a couple of sages in the 70s, a group of sages.
Orleans.
It's from the South. Orleans was their name.
Yes. So let's take a deep breath.
You ready?
Together, Dance with glee. God wants to be your partner, can't you see?
Dance with glee. God wants to be your partner, can't you see?
Dance with glee. God wants to be your partner, can't you see?
Yeah, this is a part.
Yeah, let's
let's
go on our reading binge.
Yeah, we're going to do a little reading binge because we're wrapping up. There was a lot of positive things shared, and just to reinforce those things, we got a couple of readings.
Yeah, we got to get this in here. Let's
Yeah,
go.
because these things aren't true just because Darrell and Ed say they're true.
They're principle.
Yeah, they've always been true. They're not even true. These principles aren't true, not even because Jesus said they were true. He was just sharing these principles.
That's right.
And proving that they work, demonstrating, look, guys, this stuff really works. It's blowing my mind. You should try it. And people are going, wow, Jesus, this is incredible.
Yes.
And when he said, follow me, he was really saying, just do as I do. Like, follow the leader when you're a kid.
Yes. I just did that with a kid yesterday.
Yeah, not just follow me around town. No, it means do these things I'm doing, believe this way.
Right.
And these things happen. And here, this is a great one for this is a great reminder to help us make a new choice when we when fear jumps in the throne, to kick them out.
You know what it's time for?
Postcards
from
Kirky.
Kirky, all the way from Germany.
Yeah, he sends us they're funny on the front, and then they're really
kick you up the stairs on the back.
Kick you up the stairs on the back. So this says, and it's a quote from Ernest Holmes, "The mind is a magnet, and we attract that with which we identify the self. In order to get the most out of life, we must learn consciously to change many of our habitual thought patterns. This is not easy, for our old thought patterns cling to us with great tenacity. But, being thought patterns, they can be reversed. If you are filled with fear, refill yourself with faith. For faith always overcomes fear.
Wow, that goes perfectly with what Sue Hodgson sent us through her daily email from Mary Kupferly, Trust in the Goodness of God. Fear can actually become an ally. We talk about this. You talked about this as being when we're over our head. We feel like we're over our head. Yeah. Fear can act. That is a really great way of saying we are over our head.
Yes.
We have to get over our head because our head is telling us all this crappy stuff. So we need to get out like we're doctors. We're going to help you get over your head.
Yes.
Okay, fear can actually become an ally as it pushes you more insistently into calling upon your innate faith. Remember, an infinite capacity for vital, living, miracle-working faith dwells within your soul, awaiting your claim and acceptance of it. Greater is the faith in you than any kind of fear that ever touches the heart of your feeling nature. Know right now, with all confidence, there is nothing to fear. There's nothing to it. There's no truth to it at all, except the fact that it feels bad and it's telling us crap.
This is perfect time to go to our break before we have our guests come.
That's true. Coming up next, today's guest, miracle worker, the Reverend Unity Minister Nancy Norman, kicks fear off the throne with today's daily word, which is free. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from CHOBO Studios. All right, everybody, welcome back to Kick Fear Off the Throne with the Reverend Unity Minister Nancy Norman. Coming up in a minute, we have a great reading. Darrell was just mentioning this, very inspired.
This is crazy, folks. So in the first segment, I brought up that where St. Paul is referring to being grateful for the times he's gotten in over his head, because then he has to absolutely buy into faith, and that's when it works, you know? So I actually remembered that because last night I was reading from a book called Miscellaneous Writings by H. Emily Cady. It's from 1928. It was a Unity book, and you may be able to find it on Amazon. But it was talking about, so it's about basically the whole chapter in a nutshell is about stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, or law. And it means salvation.
Yes.
Actually, the meaning is solution.
Yes.
Yes. So see the solution come about. So it's talking about, Paul said, my strength is made perfect in thy weakness. And St. Paul, realizing that when he had placed less confidence in the mortal, meaning in his own trying to figure it out, his own analytical thinking, he had more help from the divine. And he said, when I, the mortal, am weak, then I am strong. Because trusting means resting confidently. And we are to rest confidently saying, God is my strength. God is my power. God is my assured victory. I will trust in him, and he will bring it to pass.
Yeah. It goes along with what Emmett said, that the future is friendly, the unknown.
Yes.
We must, what was it, get ourselves or direct ourselves to recognize that God is on the road ahead. And that the unknown is really friendly, because when we're in fear, God is the unknown. God is that thing that we don't know. Otherwise, we wouldn't be afraid. But it is like walking on water. It's trusting in something that we can't yet see or even know in that moment, but knowing through wisdom rather than just like rational mind that it is there and that we can relax into it. I have a great reading from Sermon on the Molehill by none other than Kathy Jean Norman and Noel C. Nelson. And I recommend this book. Get it on Amazon. I also recommend going back and watching that episode with Kathy Norman. Excuse me. This is a great reading. It says it's so important to do a morning routine, meditation, inspired. We start with inspired reading, move into meditation, then do some affirmative thinking. Affirm your good. Make an affirmative to-do list for the day. Create the kind of day you want by using your voice, putting your thoughts, not just reading other people talk about it, but affirm. Because sometimes we're not raised to realize how powerful our voice is, and really in our own life it is so important. So part of Kathy Jean Norman's morning routine here, from a chapter called Be Uphearted, says, one of the things that I love to do is ask each morning, God, I am living in a state of exhilarated contentment. What exciting things do you have in store for me today? Then I look for them and start seeing some pretty phenomenal things. And this is very true. We know Kathy. We just hung out with her the other day in Brentwood, and you feel it as soon as you're in her presence, just as I know you did when you heard her and watched her on the show. When we expect exciting things to occur, we draw to us things that affect us in a positive way.
It's true.
We're only miserable when we declare that we are miserable. That's so important. As stated in Job 22:28, you shall decree a thing, and it shall be established unto you. In this moment, you could be the master of how you experience what is occurring in your life. What are you the master of? Your negativity, your judgments, or your excitement and your enthusiasm?
Yes.
Life is about choice. You can be in negativity and sluggish unresponsiveness, or you can enjoy the ride. How powerful and blessed your life becomes when you enjoy it. Joy is the solution. Your life starts right where you are, and you can come alive in spite of circumstances. Choose to approach your life with enthusiasm and joy. No matter what you're doing, say to yourself, I am enjoying this. And
Yes.
that goes along with like Nick the Poet texted us recently, let it be easy. These type of, we can say, it's like laughter yoga, it's like dancing with glee. We can choose to shift the whole thing. Oh, my mom and dad are upset about it. I'm so glad they are. I can't wait to talk to them. And just silly little things by shifting even that.
Yeah,
I
changes
can't wait to call this parent or whatever it is for teaching. It changes everything.
Well, and just so you know, we're like the president of the Hair Club for Men. We don't just talk about this stuff.
That's right.
We actually use it.
Your clients.
Because my morning routine here, this is my little journal.
Yes.
And just to let you know, we really do this stuff because just this morning, 8:20, which is today, the recording day, I wrote, today is the day of solution.
Amen.
I am all in with love and anticipate blessings.
Yes.
I assume my true ideal of strength, power, confidence, good health, and prosperity now.
Wow.
And that equals happiness. And because of that happiness, I receive all these things.
Wow. I just want to, we got, that is so great. We got our friend Chris Chenoweth's book called, it's something like a 52-week, day by day.
Day by day.
And let's all send love to Chris Chenoweth. A burst of light and joy and radiant health flowing through him. He's such a blessing to the world. And this week in this book, I had to just read this because he said, how do you cast out fear?
Oh, perfect.
The Bible says that you cast out fear with perfect love. People, businesses, and organizations that run on a foundation of God's perfect love are completely void of fear consciousness. As a seeker of greater spirituality, you can experience the illumination of God in every area of your life. No clouds of doubt can hide God's light. This pure light will permeate your relationships with friends, coworkers, loved ones, and everyone in your life. God's light is your salvation. Remember, salvation and solution are the same meaning. God's light is your solution from fear, your salvation from fear. God's light brings harmony and understanding.
I love this
All
stuff.
right. Well, thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Once again, subscribe to us on YouTube. Go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Subscribe. Review, rate the show,
share it with
the show.
friends, please.
Yes, we love you. Thank you for tuning in. You can mail us things at Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. Lois Conklin sent us a handmade postcard this week. Dear Darrell and Ed, I'll hold it up for the viewers on YouTube to see. Thinking of you and thought you'd enjoy a snail mail postcard decorated by me. Glad I found you two here on my computer. Don't know when you'll pop up, but you are welcome when you do. Fun hearing your conversations and meeting your guests. I look them up too.
Oh, nice.
You're gonna love looking up Nancy Norman on YouTube also. So look up Nancy Norman's page on YouTube. She puts out great, inspiring videos. You're going to love Lois. Fun hearing your conversations and meeting your guests. I looked them up too. Hope this finds you both full of joy, peace, wonder, grace, and love. Yours truly, Lois Conklin. Thank you, Lois. Angel Rapoli on YouTube said, found this video a bit late. It was the one where we showed how to eat panettone.
Oh, we showed people how to eat a panettone. That's an Italian cake. It's like what
a lot of people think it's just
an
like
Italian fruit cake.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually delicious if you know the secret to eating one. And we give away that secret on YouTube. So
we got it straight from the Italians.
Yeah, go to our channel, Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, and you will learn how to enjoy a panettone cake like you've never have before, folks.
Angel Rapol said, found this video a bit late, but you guys rock. I'm always happy to see what you're up to. It's so great you're broadcasting again. Sherry Knight, watched The Future is Friendly with Reverend Michael Schoonover. Said, great show. Love your shirts. Leslie Laird sent us an email. Said, Darrell and Ed, I'm listening, watching all your YouTube. Love the 3D effect. I'm a few episodes behind and just launched Surrender to Win with Nick the Poet. She said we made mention of her PDF that she sent us of those spiritual tools. What truly touched me was your mentioning of my mother and your sending love and good wishes to her around her recovery.
Yes.
She's being transferred to a skilled nursing facility today from rehab. I spoke to her this morning and I could just feel the fear and anxiety in her voice. I've done all I can to help herself. Of course, I mean for God to help her. Yet she persists in remaining fearful. We all,
which is understandable.
Yeah, so we're going to help her kick fear off the throne as well.
Yes.
She's so precious to me, and I just wanted to send a heartfelt thank you for the over-the-air wishes to me and my mom. You all have a wonderful day. Hugs, Leslie. And she sent us a photo with her mom. So
yes.
Thank you, Leslie, for reaching out. I'm just imagining that light flowing through your mother, kicking fear off the throne. I'm going to feel it, and as I feel it, I know she's feeling it.
Yeah.
Also, and you are too. And she also said she's still rolling on the floor after the poet from Nick the Poet joke about how I just went for a haiku.
Yes.
That's how they knew he was a poet, because he went for a haiku as a kid instead of a hike.
And we also received a tithe
thank you,
from Bruce Foster.
What's crazy is we hung out with Bruce Foster in Culver City. If you're ever around, let us know. We got coffee with him. Unbeknownst to him, we hung out with him. We went to Starbucks or something. We walked over our P.O. box, and there was a tithe from Bruce Foster in the mailbox. So thank you, Bruce. We love you.
Yes.
And we send love your way and appreciation. All right. So we already said check out our website, darrellanded.com. You
Yes.
can message us there. You can message on Facebook fan page at Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. I think you could even message us on Patreon.
Yep. And we want to thank our in-house engineer, Indy Fawcett at CHOBO Studios.
Yes, thank you, Indy.
And the man who's been with us for the entire length of us doing this show, and he's in Kansas, and he continues to help us put our show online and everywhere you guys are seeing it and hearing us, and his name is Jeff Comfort, and each week he takes us
right into the comfort zone. Yeah. Shout out to Silent Unity, 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. They have an app, the letter U, the word pray. If you want to kick fear off the throne, it's a great way to do it. Call Silent Unity. When you hear someone else pray affirmatively, similar like when you listen to the show or you read something great, it really makes it so, like, it just makes sense. It's like my mind just lets go when I hear someone praying from this awareness of God, from this awareness of who we really are. It's like, it's just like a nice drink of water when you're thirsty. We use it all the time. I used it this week and with some of the things that I needed to do with going back to school, and I got a great affirmation which said, all things work together to bless me.
Yes.
And that was, this person who prayed was like, sometimes you get a longer, more flowing. Some of them are just like, no nonsense. They hit you with
I know. You never know. I like that too.
This person just kicked me right up the stairs. So thank you, Silent Unity. And we recommend you use it. 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. It really was the heart of the Unity movement, along with the Daily Word. And we have a special guest.
I'm dying for our guest. Let's get her on already.
The Unity Minister, and her name is Nancy Norman. How are you today?
I am doing fabulously, and I have loved this show. I love the idea of kicking fear right off the throne. You know, I in preparation for this, I chose a Bible verse, Deuteronomy 31:6, and I thought, oh, this is perfect.
Wow.
It says, be strong and courageous. Listen to this. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And I thought, how often do we allow fear to absolutely terrorize us?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wake us up in the middle of the night.
Yes.
We can terrorize ourselves. We can have our own horror movie in just a couple of minutes. But the truth is that we've just got to know that we're not alone.
Yeah.
God's with us. We have nothing to be concerned about.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. And nowadays, it's really easy to keep the train rolling because we can go online and type in something and get something to reinforce our fear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Never look up your ailments on Google, folks. Take it from an expert.
Well, Butterworth said, yeah. That's why Butterworth said first treat the concern.
Yes.
And then the condition. But
Yes.
the first thing we have to do is treat the concern in our mind. Otherwise, we're just going to find more evidence of the concern, more if we don't first address that.
Can I read something short?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, let's ask Nancy.
Okay.
Can Darrell read something short that he's inspired to read?
Go right in.
All right, because this is from the book Make Your Life Worthwhile by Emmett Fox. And this is exactly what you brought up, and I'm glad I brought this. It's called non-resistance.
Right.
You know, because a lot of the times I fight in my mind the
Yes.
things I'm afraid of, and
Yes.
I get locked
Yes.
into two trains of like an operating system that has only two ways to go when I'm in this mode, and it's worry and then scheme. I'm worrying, and now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to overcome.
Yeah.
And I'm worrying some more, and then but what if this happens?
Right.
And that is by definition to me hell. So,
That is so true.
but you don't need to do that, folks. And the key is non-resistance. And here it is.
Right.
When you fight a thing, you antagonize it, and it hits back. The harder you fight it, the harder it hits. What you neglect or still better ignore begins to fade away or die by starvation. When you give your attention to anything, you are building that thing into your consciousness for good or evil.
Wow.
When you are faced with some negative condition in your own life, the scientific way to handle it is to withdraw your attention from it by building the opposite into your subconscious. And when you have done this, the undesirable thing falls away like an overripe fruit.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think that the moment that we find that our thought has taken us down that road of fear, we just need to go to the exact opposite.
Yes.
Go to God. Go to faith. You know that they're interesting enough. I read something the other day and I thought, oh, this is so true. And that is that that everything we have always wanted to experience, everything, your deepest heart's desire is on the other side of fear.
Oh, that's heaven.
Is that fabulous?
Yes.
And you know, I was thinking about that idea, and how we can put that into practice, and how people have put it into practice over the years. Everything, the heart's desire is always on the other side of fear.
Wow.
And I want to share something with you. I don't know where it came from, but I keep it around all the time because I have to remember. It says, when you come to the edge of all the light that you know, and are about ready to step off into the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing that one of two things will happen. There will be something solid to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. Is that fabulous?
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to write that down later after the show. I'm going to post that where I could see it all the time. That is great. It's
because that's what we're really called to. God has these wonderful plans for us, and He's given us. And I believe we live in a sea of pure positive potential.
Yes.
He's given us everything. And what stops us? Fear.
Right.
So we have to get past the fear of stepping out into all fear is it's just something we've never done before.
Yes.
You know, you were talking about school. I like to think of fear. I remember now, it's been a long time ago since I was in grade school. However, I do remember it was always so much fun to think, oh, the school year is going to start. But there was also fear there.
Right.
Because it was something new.
Yes.
Right.
A new teacher, new classmates,
Yes.
Right.
new subjects. And so that first day of school, you know, I think every kid probably goes through this. There's fear. Like,
Right.
what's it going to be like? Are they going to like me?
Yes.
Am I going to be able to, but guess what? in about 2 days, they know everyone in the class, love their teacher, are excited about their homework.
Right.
And so I think that fear is produced oftentimes simply because we don't know.
Right.
It's so important. I love, do you know the story of Alan Cohen and his book, The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore? Do you know about that story?
Yeah, we often quote Alan Cohen, but we want to hear you share the story.
Yeah, because we read from a daily reader, so we might know the story. Let's hear. We had him on our show once before, so we would love to hear it.
I love that story of how he published that first book. And I think it was in the, 70s or 80s, where this type of thinking was just coming into greater light. And he had been run by fear.
Right.
And he was afraid to do everything. He found these principles and he applied them in his life. And all of a sudden he had confidence and conviction. And he thought, I'm writing this stuff down. He wrote it down and he thought, I have a book here. He borrowed $5,000 and found a publisher. And he went to that publisher, gave the man the $5,000, and the book was going to be published. Now this was borrowed $5,000. He had not a dime, and so he signed the contract and got up to leave, and the publisher said, "Yeah," he said, "Well, you know that authors don't really make it until they've published their third book," and Alan Cohen, with confidence, turned to him and said, "Well, that's not true for me."
Right.
And the publisher said, "Oh, really? Well, why?" And he said, "Because God's my agent."
Yes.
And that partnership with God, and that book took off. I don't even know how many it's have been published.
Right.
But that's the overcame that fear and realized his most magnificent dream, and look what he's given the world.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to restate the title for our listeners. It's called The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore by Alan Cohen.
Right.
And so if you're interested in looking that book up, there you have it. The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
And I love what you said in sharing that about the way he said what was true for him. It's not about fighting with the outside world, but it's very much about claiming for ourselves what we find to be true. Even in my conversation with my mother before, that was my main spirit, was to I told her, I said, thank heavens what you're saying isn't true for me, because I'm excited. And I didn't want to come across as like vengeful towards her. We worked it through. Just now, I even got a nice text that said, I don't know how, but somehow I feel like a weight was just lifted off my shoulders from our conversation. So this stuff is just amazing.
Works.
And then earlier this week, Darrell and I had a meeting with some people, and they were about some speaking arrangements, and they were basically telling us their plan didn't involve us, right? But the way they framed it was like they put us in this weird box, like we know you guys are like this and that, and I listened and and I didn't argue. We didn't argue.
No, we didn't argue.
But this new voice has been coming out of me. It's the same voice that once wore a bacon suit and had to talk to some high ranking.
Well, you could let Nancy know. It was the same voice that came out when we were at Unity Village, and Jim Blake was giving us a head pat that Ed had to go, wait a minute. What you're saying is nonsense. And the whole thing turned around.
Yeah, we ended up speaking to the leadership team.
After that, we ended up being invited to speak to the leadership team.
So there's kind of Darrell's often like the mom boss of this New Thought partnership we have. And then I'm sitting there not saying anything. And the time with Jim Blake, we were in the Unity Hotel, and I didn't even remember that we had brought a bacon costume with us, and I was wearing a bacon costume.
So we were sitting. He's wearing a costume from head to toe, Nancy, where he's a slice of bacon.
That's right. It was 2 feet over
and
my
his
head.
Is
my head popping out of it.
Head's popping out of it, and his arms are out, and he's eating ribs because we were never in Kansas City before, so we're eating ribs. So Jim comes sheepishly, sits with us because of some things that went down where they said, we're not going to talk to the leadership group because of whatever. They wanted us to go through all these hoops after Jim invited us. So now we're finally there, and his minions are saying, oh, no, you didn't do this or that. So we just said, no big deal. We don't care.
No,
We're
you know
here
what
to
happened
visit.
was actually months before we even came, we said, we're done. We just said lovingly, okay, we're not interested in doing the engagement because we're not going to come up with all of this documentation.
Yeah.
And we were actually just, all right, great. We're just going to go to Unity Village. We love being there. We did the show from the studio.
Yeah.
And then
all of a sudden, Jim comes walking through, the CEO of the place, so I'm letting our listeners, comes walking through the hotel, sees us, and he's a little bit like, ooh, I better approach these guys. But I guess they thought there was an uncomfortable feeling. Meanwhile, we're eating ribs. I'm in my normal clothes. Ed's dressed like a bacon, and we're just eating ribs. And if you saw this, it was like a crazy, like if David Lynch tried to make The Sopranos, so he has like the one mob guy in a bacon suit.
Right.
And then so we're eating these ribs. We got rib all over our face. And Jim sits down and he starts to make excuses for why things went the way they did. Now, mind you, Ed and I were already beyond this. We didn't even care. We're enjoying our time at Unity. And then he says something that wasn't true.
Oh, which was, why did you guys ignore my emails?
Which wasn't true.
No.
Because this is the same. Yeah, this is the same thing that happened the other day this week. They said something isn't true. So all of a sudden, Ed, it turns out like I'm like the quiet Marlon Brando, and all of a sudden his son James Caan in The Godfather comes to life and throws his ribs down. I was, what? I don't want to hear any more of this corporate garbage out of your mouth.
Yeah,
all right?
I think I said no more CEO. I said
no more CEO.
Bull beep. And I didn't plan on saying that.
And all of a sudden, because Ed just started going, no, that is not true. This is what was there. You know it. So let's just cut the crap. And then all of a sudden he was like, he's turned into like a normal person.
And then Darrell started sharing some truth, and then we ended up talking to we got a call or an email.
The very next day.
Well, you guys talked to the team. And the same thing happened this week, because there's people Unity related were like, we know you guys don't really fit into the body. On the way to this meeting, we're going, these services need to be more church-like. We love that part of it.
Yeah, it's
and
so
then
joyful.
These people are like, we know you don't like being part of it, so and so I just. But it was just this voice of truth, which is what made me think of what you just said, which was, it's been coming out of me more. I wasn't arguing. I just said, that's not true about who we are.
Yeah.
This is what we are. And I came away from that meeting realizing we're truth teachers.
Yeah.
Ministers.
In reality, what you were doing is exactly, Darrell, what you read out of Emmett Fox. You, in a way, you were practicing non-resistance. Right. It's like, you don't like it? It's like, no problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You were really.
You know what?
I think I want to let people know, for me, what I'm learning is non-resistance is not weak, sheepish.
No.
It can be strongly claiming what's
very
true for
strong.
me. And I'm getting that from people like yourself, Nancy, and these other Unity teachers who have the spirit from, I really think, from your time of you. There's like a spirit that comes from this certain generations of Unity that's like, it's bold. We heard about that story. Who was it? Mary Catherine McDougall from Strickland, and the way she was just like boom, boom, boom. It's not argumentative, but this is true for me.
Yeah, and we're not saying being a bully either. There was times, because I was just going to say quickly, there was a thing my dad could do. I mean, he died young, and he was a total different person than me. But, I mean, he lives in my head sometimes, and it's not for the best.
Yeah, he's not all that. There's some of him living through.
Yeah. So,
great
but
ways.
he was always able to, when it was a business deal or something, he'd walk in. Sometimes I'd have to be with him because he was raising me and my brother by himself before he passed away.
Right.
So I'd be with him. And he'd talk to the guy, go, okay, this is this, and the guy would start going, well, I don't know, like trying to get a better deal or whatever, trying to manipulate to get whatever he thought he was going to get from my father at the time. Right. And my father would be like, all right then, okay, pleasant meeting you, I'll see you later. Me and my dad would walk out, and every time they go, whoa, Fuzzy, come back here. And I go, what? I thought we were through here. He goes, no, I was just saying, maybe I'm a little hazy. Every time my father would get, the better deal. Because he always practiced non-resistance. It was always, take it or leave it. Oh, they don't want it. It took me years later. He just had that innately in him. I had to learn it through, if I don't get this job, God has something better in store for me. He had that built into his psyche.
Right.
I had to learn to apply that.
Yeah.
So either way, you do get it, and it does work.
It is.
And then you get what's right for you, and you don't get what would not be right for you, to be able to let it go. Because we're looking at this thing with unity that just happened as the winning kick. Like we're being kicked. It's feels like a kick in the pants, but it's really God kicking us through the goalposts.
Yes,
it's a winning kick.
Yeah,
to something better.
Yeah, but look what happened. You presented whatever that you presented, right, to the leadership.
Yeah. And then the latest talk, which was on this week, is we know it's leading us to bigger and better things. Because we're. This funniest thing ministry, it's something, a feeling inside that has led us through us practicing, and we don't really know where God is leading us, and that's the joy and the fun of it. Look at us talking to you right now.
We never do. I would have never thought in a million years I would even meet you or know who you were.
I know. I love it. Do you know, I want to share
please do.
About how you move through fear. It can be done. It can be done in so many ways. And I want to share with you an old story that I've heard for years about May Rowland. You all know about May.
Yes, we read from her often.
The head of Silent Unity for a very long time.
I think about 50 years, something like that.
Yes.
And there's a story about her that I just love because I can just see her. She apparently was not necessarily she was rather petite from what I understand. And there was a tornado that was coming, and it was coming right towards Unity Village. And as many people know, underneath the buildings are tunnels where you can go because of the tornadoes. But nothing, I don't think, has ever happened. No tornado has hit Unity Village. But this one was coming right directly for Unity Village.
Wow.
And May Rowland, I'm told, stood out on her front porch, put her hand up like this, and she said, "In the name of Jesus Christ, dissolve, be gone, dissolve in the name of Jesus Christ." And they said that tornado was headed right for her place, did a little U-turn like this, and went right around Unity Village and continued on its way. And I thought, if it were me, I would have been shaking in my boots with a tornado coming my way.
Right.
But her strength and her conviction was so strong.
Yes.
And she spoke the words.
Yes.
Out loud.
Yes.
With power and authority. I think that's what you guys did also. In your way, you spoke the words with power and authority about who you were.
Right.
Yeah, without being disrespectful, just stating the truth. And I like that because May Rowland was in that place that Paul talked about in the beginning of the show, of that place of you're so far in over your head, you somehow, if you have a taste of this practice and you understand these principles, there's a part of you that automatically will click into this higher state. And it works. It's just like when I would be in harrowing moments while I was in the military, because I learned this stuff after my first year in. I had 3 years to go, and then I did an additional year.
Right.
When I was in way over my head, it was almost like, no, this is going to work out. I know it. That God is not, like, this ship is not going to sink.
Right.
And it would, like, and I wouldn't go around. I mean, that's another thing Mike taught me. Show them, don't tell them. Like, don't run around going, ooh, I have the power of Jesus in me, because you're going to turn people off. Just keep showing people by your character. Right. And then if people want to know, then you could tell them in your normal everyday language what you've been applying in your mind and with your thoughts and how it manifests in your life. And they'll be able to digest it because they came asking for it because you weren't proselytizing.
Yeah, and I would say show yourself first.
Yes.
Because the more we show it in our bones, then we're not afraid.
No.
And we can say something or not say something.
That's right.
We saw someone yesterday that I knew better. They asked me about something, And I've known historically when that person asks me, even though it feels like it's like a good invitation, for some reason I never feel good. So I was in my authority, and I had to do this because I was feeling shaky about something else. So I shook all that off, and I just said, great. And then I left it at that, and I walked away feeling clean,
we
happy,
call that,
and free.
Yeah, we call that not going for the bait.
Yeah. Yes. The joy in knowing for ourselves, first and foremost, that this stuff is true. It cures any need to try to change anyone else.
That's
and then
right.
If there is someone that wants to receive this or that we can benefit, we will tell them in a joyful, loving way.
Yes.
And we might tickle that person who's emotionally constipated instead of trying to getting sucked into their fears. We tickle them and go, and then they help. That might help them wake up. Yeah. Who's that saying hello?
Who's that?
There's a little dog barking here. I'm sorry about that.
Who is that?
Who is that?
That's Lovey, my
Lovey.
And she's so good usually, but I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, do you know what? There's one thing that I want to share with you, and that is that that wonderful passage from the Bible, Hebrews 1:11.
Okay.
You know that one because it's about faith.
No, tell us.
And now faith is substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So for me, I go back to that all the time because for me, it says that faith means that I can have confidence. I can have confidence of what I want. And remember the desires that we have, it's that God placed those desires within us. It's here for us to experience. So I can have confidence in that. And there's no reason why you and I cannot experience what our desires are.
Right.
I mean, look what you're doing. You two are stepping out. You have stepped out in you didn't know. Well, I shouldn't say this probably because I don't know, but I don't think you knew what you were doing when you started, right?
No.
Right.
And you stepped out in faith, and look how God has cleared the way, step after step after step.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why our prayers should not be answered or our desires should not be met.
Right. So how about we get to the daily word, Nancy?
Perfect.
Yes.
I have it here. Okay, the daily word. For August 15th, 2022, I am free and unlimited. I need only look at the birds in the air to feel the spirit of freedom in my soul. Freedom is part of my divine identity, an attitude of mind, an attitude of heart that allows my soul to soar to new heights. As I live from my true nature as a child of God, I feel liberated. Burdens lift from my shoulders, and I no longer feel bound by unpleasant memories or others' disapproving comments or negative perceptions. I walk with a confident step. I am willing to try new things. I do what is mine to do with a light spirit and joy in my heart. I can think, say, and do what is right for me without fear of condemnation or judgment. I am truly free. Those who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. And that last part comes from Isaiah 40, verse 31. I love this. I walk with a confident step. Yes. I'm willing to try new things. Every new thing we do is there's got to be some fear that comes up with it because we just have never done it before.
Right.
It's like going. I love that you are teaching, and because you can identify with that. You're probably the first day of school, you may have a little fear, right?
Oh, big time. Big time. Yep.
We love you, Nancy.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Well,
and I thank you for the honor of being on your show. I love it.
Well,
why don't you hang out?
Don't
we
leave.
Appreciate you. Where can people find you on YouTube, Nancy?
Oh, okay. So I have an alternative ministry. I have a ministry online called Unity Joy of Life Ministry. I teach a class every Thursday, 7:00 in the morning,
wow.
Eastern Standard Time, and 7:00 at night, Eastern Standard Time, for 1 hour. It's called, if you go on my website, Unity Joy of Life, the Zoom numbers are there and everything. You just click on. And I've done this for about 4 or 5 years, and I love it. I put out 2 things a week. They're short. One is Weekly Word, which usually comes out on Sunday or Monday. And it's just a short, it's almost like a daily word. And then on Wednesday or Thursday, I have Weekly Wisdom, which is about maybe 4 minutes or 5 minutes. The Weekly Word is about 2 minutes.
Nice.
So I have a wonderful following. I'm just trusting that God will show the way.
Yeah.
And I think I'm doing what you guys are doing. Is I wake up every morning and I think, here I am, Lord. How may I serve you? What am I going to do?
There you go.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Well, we found a story here.
All of our guests get a little story.
And when it may or may
We
not
can't
be
confirm
true.
it's true.
TMZ sent it to us.
Yeah, so the rumor has it that one day Nancy Norman was chatting with 3 other very religious women. The topic of their children came up. The first woman mentioned her son.
Ooh.
My son's a priest.
Whenever he enters a community, people stand up and call to him, "Father, welcome." Second woman was not impressed. She bragged, "My son's a bishop. People call him Your Excellency when he is in a community." The third woman really boasted, laid it on thick. "My son's a cardinal. When he's in a formal setting, people call him Your Eminence, and they kiss his hand. He also has met the Pope." Nancy Norman did not say a word. She simply smiled. Then the others asked her, "You have children too, don't you, Nancy? Why don't you talk about them?" Nancy smiled and said,
Well, my daughter's a Unity minister who is young, rich, blonde, beautiful, wise, athletic, and fashionable. When she enters a community, all the men lean into each other's ear and whisper, "Oh, my Lord."
Oh, I love that.
Before we sing this out, I want to mention Darrell has a book out called Break Out of Your Box. It's on Amazon. It's amazing. If you want to come to CHOBO Studios to record a podcast, chobostudios.com. Indy is amazing. He also has something called PodShuttle where they'll edit your reels. You can send him the podcast or the videos, and he'll chop that up for the social media for you. So CHOBO Studios and PodShuttle. And get Kathy Norman's book, Sermon on the Molehill. We want to thank Nancy Norman for joining us. Oh,
It's Mitzi Gaynor.
Thank you.
Mitzi Gaynor's here.
Yes, I am, boys. Sing along. I know you know this one from a little show I did.
Okay.
It was called South Pacific, but I'm going to sing the original lyrics.
Aren't you a unitic?
I'm a unitic, but my voice doesn't sound that feminine today.
Okay, let's hear it. Everyone can sing along with this.
Okay.
I'm gonna wash that dread right out of my head. I'm gonna wash that dread right out of my head. I'm gonna wash that dread right out of my head and bless him on his way. Visit DarrellandEd.com. Nancy
to
Norman,
find
we love you.
easy links to everything we do. And thanks again for being
CHOBO
a part
Studios.
of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Gonna wash that dread right out of my head. I'm gonna wash that dread right out of my head. I'm gonna wash that dread right out of my head and bless him on his way. Yeah!